Tuesday. Transformation Tuesday. I just came on here to talk to you about transformation. That's why I stopped in Transformation Tuesday. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. Just getting into the week, right? We still at the top of the week. So if you're not, it's still time to do a reset. But I wanted to talk to you guys really quickly about transformation. Just a thought about it. And the thought is this: have you ever noticed that any type of life change usually is preceded by some type of turbulence? Life change generally is preceded by turbulence, right? So whether we want the change or not, change is a lot of the times disruptive. And I think that's a really interesting and different narrative than how we usually paint the picture of change, right? Or when we see transformation, what do we generally see? Generally, we see the success, we see the after, the results of the transformation. So we see maybe your pictures of like before and after, like before the transformation, after the transformation. Really, really bold people will take you along the journey from the beginning, right? So they'll talk to you about the transformation while they're in the midst of the change. But for the most part, maybe you see the diploma. Maybe you see the cap and gown in the pictures, like the really cute pictures, like did it, right? Or maybe you see the marriage photo, or you see the baby photo, right? You see these images of the results of this transformation. But what you don't see is the actual process that a person had to endure or go through. A lot of times the setbacks. When do we usually hear those stories? Usually we'll hear about those stories after or while we're seeing the success story, right? So they'll tell you, here, I'm here now, but I'm just thinking about somebody like, let's say Tyler Perry. He'll tell you his story, and when he's telling you his story, he's telling you how he slept in his car and he had to struggle and nobody was coming to see Medea and he was about to give up and all these things he went through in his childhood. And we're locked in, we're tapped in because we see this end goal, right? And it's like, wow. But we weren't there when he was actually sleeping in the car, right? We weren't there when he was actually enduring, and he had real feelings, I'm sure, just like you and I, just like some of you may be having right now, right? You may not be in the the celebratory portion of your story. You might be just getting started. You may be in the midst of a transition, and if so, this is for you. I want to talk to you about the turbulence before a transformation, right? Most transformation is preceded by some type of turbulence. Even when a plane is taking off, it starts on the ground, it ends up in the air, but there's a process of transformation, transition that has to propel it to get in the air, and that is not without turbulence. What is turbulence? It's a little shaking, right? It's a little uncomfort. It's a little like, I don't really know what's going on. Are we going to make it, right? If it's your first time flying, sometimes you might be like, oh, shoot, what's going on? Is this normal? It's all a part of the process. But if you've never stepped into a new level or a new thing, if you've never broken through a certain level or entered into a certain change, you don't always know that. You don't always understand that. And that is why I'm on assignment. Coach Tiff, your growth and accountability coach. I help women specifically make that shift from survival mode to confidently thriving in life, right? Confidently showing up and being the woman that God created them to do. We do that with my 3-step framework. That is faith, that is gaining clarity, and that is creating a vision for your life so you can walk it out in everyday life, right? But I just wanted to encourage you really quickly and remind you that don't think it's strange when turbulence hits your life. Don't think it's strange when challenges come, when trials come. This is all a part of the process. And a lot of times these things are actually gifts. A lot of times we spend a lot of time complaining about a lot of stuff, not really understanding that a lot of these things are actually coming to shift you, transition you into a new season. I actually want to look up a definition really quickly, if you guys can just bear with me, because I'm interested to know myself. So let's see. Let's define something, because I feel like definitions are so powerful because they give us context, and context is everything. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got. Okay, so I'm just looking up the definition of a transformation. A transformation is a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. A thorough or dramatic, that's interesting. Interesting choice of words. A thorough meaning complete, right? Thorough meaning it's a word that's on the tip of my tongue. We'll just say full. We'll just say detailed. That's what I was looking for, detailed. A thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance, a metamorphosis during the cycle of an animal, right? Physics, the induced or spontaneous change of one element into another by a nuclear process, right? So all of this to me sounds like impact. Let's see if we can get a better definition or a fuller definition from Webster. Let's just check it out and see. Let's see what Webster says about it. Transformation. An act, process, or instance of transforming or being transformed. The operation of changing, as by rotation or mapping, one configuration or expression into another in accordance with the mathematical rule. Especially a change of variables or coordinates, and with a function of new variables and coordinates is substituted for each original variable or coordination. The formula that affects a transformation. You get the point. None of this sounds like a walk in the park. I love how the definitions speak to the impact of transformation. This is not just like stepping into something. A transformation is a literal change. It is a change. It is a new thing. It's not the same thing shined up. It's a completely different thing. Don't think that that's not going to come without movement. And a lot of times, you guys, movement on the inside, not even talking about externals. What about the internal transformation? Scripture tells us, Romans 12:2, right? Don't be conformed to this pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's to suggest that spending time in the Word of God, spending time with God, can literally change your mind. Change your thought process. Change the way you think. Let's not say that like it's cheap. Let's not talk to people like it's cheap. Let's not talk to people like changing a thought pattern is something we could even do for them. God himself has to do that. A person can facilitate, they can teach you, they can give you books to read, right? But ultimately, where does understanding come from? This is something that I learned being a teacher, but more importantly, being a mom, right? You cannot force your kids to comprehend something. You have to make room and space, be patient, be loving, give them the tools, but it takes that child to get involved and, if you will, put their hands on it, learn it, read it for themselves so they can then comprehend. If you block this, you literally block a child's growth and development. It's one thing to read words on a paper. It's another thing to be able to form that idea in your head, understand, summarize what you just read. You remember those assignments? Your kids probably still have these assignments, right? Where they have to read a paragraph, then they have to summarize what the paragraph just said, then they have to answer questions that are only found in the paragraph. Those are skills, right? Reading is just one skill. Comprehension, meaning being able to digest what you just read. Understanding, that's a God thing, right? So understand that transformation, life change, growth, that's all a process. And if you think you're going to beat yourself into that, if you think you're going to race yourself into that, you're mistaken. And you're going to do yourself harm. And if you're handling other people that way, you're going to do them some harm as well. Because people have to have the time and the space to comprehend and process for themselves. So why this platform? Because sometimes that can get turbulent. That could even get violent. Like not physically, but when your mind is being confronted with some things that you're not really ready to face, that could feel violent. Right? So having the space to be able to process, to be able to breathe, to be able to express and gain the tools and the resources that you need is key, right? So you can have an understanding of what actually is going on. So, hey, I'm going to leave you with this. Maybe some friendships are changing in your life. Maybe a relationship is falling apart. Maybe a job situation is confronting you. Maybe your finances is looking kind of funny. Maybe you're being challenged in other areas. Relationship dynamics are changing. So it's not that the relationship is no longer valid. It's just now the roles are reversing. Or now the needs are different. That's okay. It's a part of the process. What if you didn't fold, but what if you simply rested and stood back and said, God, show me what you're doing. Show me this transformation that's taking place in my life. If transformation is a movement, a changing of things, right? When there's seasons of your life where things are changing, I've had major seasons. I have markers of them, right? Where things have just like, what is going on, right? Hurricane Katrina, my boyfriend at the time being murdered, right? My moving into a home and then my landlord passing away, right? And all these things came into my life. Hi, how are you? Came into my life and literally like shook my entire world and forced me into a new season. I didn't choose a new season, right? I didn't choose change. Right? I didn't necessarily say, hey, I want to be stretched in this way. I didn't have a say-so in the matter, right? These things were happening. Hey. These things were happening to me. I didn't necessarily see them coming, but in hindsight, right? Meaning taking the time today to reflect over my life, I see how those things have shaped me into not only the woman I am in real life, right? Because you're only seeing a portion of me, yes? But I have a real life off this screen. So the woman I am, the woman I've become in the lessons that I'm learning in my real life, the mother I am, the mother I'm becoming, and the mother that I am to serve this child of mine that God chose to have me birth, right? But then also the things that I build, my purpose, the people that I'm called to serve, the people that I'm called to speak into. Do you know that that's all by very unique and intentional design? Not by me, but by God. Hey, wow, defining moments. You better know it. While I was saying it, the word that I was hearing is really a journey of self-discovery, right? If you're brave enough to embrace these seasons of transformation, each season you're being propelled into this thing that God has for you. You know where we trip up at? When we try to control it, when we try to define it, right? When we try to, this was always a really difficult thing for me, like in the business realm, because there's a certain messaging that's always push, right? And that's not really my style at all, right? My style is much more, I step back and I let God birth a thing. I let it breathe. I don't try to hurry up as soon as it's birth. Oh, I'm about to name it this. No. I got to back up off of it because the truth is, I don't even really know. I can think I know, right? But over time, God has shown me you know in part. Slow down and wait. Let me tell you. Let me show you. Let me teach you. Right? So same thing with our lives. Before you coin a season, before you coin a person, good, bad, indifferent, hater, friend, bestie, whatever the case, right? Give it some time to breathe. What you in a rush for? Where you going? Where you going? God know what he doing. When the time is right, he'll make it happen. You want it that way anyway, because you don't want to be responsible for, you don't want to be responsible for the increase. You don't want to be responsible for the flow. You want to know that this is God's business and I'm just on assignment. I'm being a good steward of it. So give things time. Give yourself time, right? The moment you see turbulence, run and fold. Lock down, lock in, right? And give yourself the room and the grace. Get in supportive community, right? So you can weather these storms and see, what is God doing? What is God up to? Don't try to name that too soon, okay? If you need support in that, go ahead and go to the link in my bio. You can schedule your free one-on-one. We have all kind of resources for you as well. Those you'll see there as well. And then I want to offer you another resource from Dr. Lee, a mentor of mine. She wrote a book called The Thread, 6 Steps to Intentional Living After Trauma or Crisis. What I'll do is I'll tag her. I'll post this book in my stories and I'll tag her. Check out this book because she provides a 6-step process that can help you literally move and navigate seasons of trauma, seasons of crisis, right? Because we all go through them. But when you don't have a framework or a reference point, it can feel really lost. Or you just have a bunch of people saying a bunch of things to you. I like this because she's helping you get plugged into God, and she's helping you really grab hold and get plugged into you, right? Stand up and be who you need to be in this season of transition and change, okay? So I pray that this was helpful for you, and hopeful for you. Why not? Nothing wrong with hope, right? So pray that this inspires you and encourages you to keep going. Tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be joined by Rashida from Knows No Face, and we're going to be continuing our conversation about the role vulnerability plays in our growth process, okay? I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, continue to bloom no matter where you're planted. How you already know. By faith. Peace.